Ready. Play.
First question, then just raise your hand. Coco, welcome back to Stuttgart. How are you feeling ahead of the tournament? How's the practices been so far?
Yeah, I'm really happy to be back here in Stuttgart. I feel like I've been practicing pretty well. And yeah, hopefully you can have a good week here.
Okay, who would like the first question? Raise your hand, please. Diego?
How those last few weeks were for you in terms of the transition from hard court to the clay court, and if it changed anything compared to the previous seasons?
Yeah, this year's been a little bit more smoother because I didn't play Billie Jean King Cup this year, so I didn't have to do the quick turnaround from hard to clay. So I feel like I had more time to prepare. But yeah, that's the only thing that's been different since last year, just the schedule change. But yeah, I think I feel better having more time, but obviously Billie Jean King Cup is important, so I think I just kind of choose which ties I decide to play. We have so much depth in the American game that we don't always need me or our top players to be able to get through a tie.
Okay, next question. John?
Just on that, I mean, do you think you'll be in Seville if you're there or thereabouts in terms of your ranking, etc.?
I mean, it's obviously on the calendar, but it just depends on schedule again, and how the end of the year goes. Last year I didn't do the Billie Jean King Cup finals, but I definitely love competing and I love playing, and I definitely am excited about our new captain, Lizzie Davenport. So I can't tell you yes or no right now, but we'll see later in the season.
Okay, next question. Raise your hand. Diego?
Just a question regarding the Billie Jean King Cup finals. Do you think it's going to be an issue, the logistics situation between Saudi Arabia and Seville?
Yeah, I mean, it's always going to be an issue, just with the dates and obviously playing on two different parts of the world. So it's nothing new. It's been like that for the last couple of years. When I played in Fort Worth and had to go to Glasgow, that was tough transition. So I think it's always going to be an issue until they're in the same continent, which won't be for a long time probably.
Okay, any more, John?
Okay, let's sort of have a look at today, but also your last 12 months. I remember a year ago you telling me that I was asking you about your preferred surface, and you're like, well, I had good results on all the surfaces, and I also asked, maybe which one are you going to win a slam on? This was a year ago. Obviously, you've now achieved that.
What did I say?
I can tell
I
you
feel like I would have said clay, right, or no?
You were in a good mood at the time. It was the beginning of the clay court season, so it's like I say, about a year ago. And yeah, you said in the end you were like, I don't know. I'm optimistic about the clay court season. I mean, you had a good French Open, I would say, but maybe less so in Madrid. And yeah, and then of course you achieved at least that ambition in New York.
Yeah.
What I want to know is now, where are we at now with Coco, and particularly regarding this clay court season?
Yeah, I think clay and hard are definitely my favorite surfaces. I can play well on all of them depending on how I show up to a tournament, honestly. But for the clay court season this year, I'm really optimistic. Obviously, the goal is to win French Open, but that's every season of any top player. I mean, your goal should be to try to win the big tournament. But I'm not looking at French Open right now. I'm focused on Stuttgart, and I want to win. Try to win Madrid or Rome or here, just because I can't remember the last time I won a clay court title was like a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of want to just get a recent clay title under my belt. So any other ones along the next couple weeks would be nice. But yeah, I'm always feeling confident about myself, especially after US Open. Can be a contender, semifinal in Australia, losing to Ariana, who I end up winning. So I feel like I'm definitely a contender in all the tournaments, and it just comes down to the crunch time moments and who can perform better.
All right, any more questions? We'll do one more Diego and one more John.
Thank you.
That's it, yeah.
Still regarding the work that you have done in the last couple of weeks, I read that you should have added another person to your team, probably a no face, like you knew him already.
Yeah.
Was it easy to connect him again with him, and how is the work during that moment?
Yeah, I added John Christoph, I call him JC, to my team, and I started with him when I was 14. He was with me with that incredible run at Wimbledon, and it actually wasn't either of our choices to stop working together. He was having visa issues and couldn't get into the US for like a long time, a couple years. So once he got that all figured out, and it became a perfect opportunity and the timing worked to be back together. I knew when we had stopped, I always wanted to go back to him when all of that stuff got sorted. So the timing worked where I was looking for someone, and we worked well together. So I'm really excited to be back with him, and it's nice to have someone on my team that knows me since I was young and knows me well. So I'm really, really excited to have him back on the team, and yeah, it's good, and I'm glad that the government let us be together again.
All right, last one, John. Thanks.
Again, sort of just looking at that unbelievable sort of sequence of events leading up to New York. You had a really early exit in Wimbledon, if I remember rightly. Did you feel anything like after Wimbledon, like, oh, I don't know why, but even though you had a bad result on the grass there, you had a feeling that something big was building? And I have one other, which is, do you have one of the three that you haven't won that's the one that I would really want to win one day?
Yeah, after Wimbledon I was feeling terrible. So I was like, I just need to get through the rest of the year mentally and try to push through. And my eyes were set on Australia and trying to win that. And then I don't know, like everything happened in the hardcore season. DC happened, then Cincinnati happened, and even though like people were saying I was a contender, all this analysts and all that, I didn't feel like one. I just was like, well, fluke, I don't know. I have imposter syndrome, so I just didn't, I didn't have any hopes for anything. And then after I had a tough match against Laura Siegemund in the first round, I was like, well, I'm happy to get out of the first round. And I had a lot of tough matches that week at US Open, or 2 weeks. So I can't say that I confidently that I felt like I was going to win that tournament literally until I was in the final. And that's when I felt like, when I woke up, my favorite city, been coming to France since I was 10 years old, so it's almost like a second home. So I'm going to go with French Open.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks.
All right.